I'm just going to fess up now, it's not tea, it's Ribena. This is Vlogmas for Saturday the 17th of December, and I am going to go through a copy of Psychologies magazine and have a chat about it. I get Psychologies magazine quite regularly. It's probably one of the only like mainstream magazines that's not to do with fashion that I regularly like to get. I mean, I do like Art Review, and yeah, there are actually a couple of like design magazines that I do like to get, but mostly I like sort of fashion magazine. But Psychologies is what I buy most often. The tagline is "Be stronger, wiser, happier," which is super cute. There's a bit at the front of the magazine where they normally give you like some stats and stuff like that, some research that's just come out. There's one bit here that says 47 minutes is the average time we enjoy peace and quiet each day, with 6 out of 10 of us saying this only happens in bed. What a great excuse for a lie-in. I think it depends what you mean by peace and quiet. To me, those two things are different. So I might be enjoying some quiet, but I might not necessarily be peaceful, or vice versa. I can very often be peaceful in the midst of noise and chaos. There's an article here that suggests that you really need to start to find joy in the tiny things, the little kind of daily gifts that come up that maybe don't cost much and don't seem like anything to write home about, but really can make the difference, you know. A lot of people are chasing the highs, and they're telling themselves when they get to a certain goal or a certain point in their lifestyle that they've been coveting or whatever, that they're not happy like with that, and they've got to go on and get something else and something else. And actually there's a term for this, it's hedonic adaptation, where we literally go after our desire, we allow our hedonism to like guide us down a certain road, then we get what we want and we don't want that anymore. So the idea is that you're supposed to find joy in the little things, rather than putting so much investment on the idea that once you get to the big goal you'll be happy, which I think there's a lot of credence in. I do think that there's a lot of discussions you could have around this subject. I don't think it's as cut and dry as that really. But yeah, I definitely can see what the article is trying to say. So it says here, take stock, run through the last 24 hours, when were you happiest? I think it's really valuable to take stock of when you felt happiest during the day, and that's when you can see the patterns, you know, of behaviour and the patterns of preferences that will lead you to make healthier choices and to make, you know, more empowered decisions about what you do with your time and who you spend your time with. I also think if we look at the span of a day and we examine the points of stress in the day, that can be really interesting, because quite a lot of the time we are identifying our stress or associating our sense of stress or displeasure with the wrong thing. We are saying to ourselves that it's about something, but it's really about something else entirely, and we can get it quite wrong. It's almost like thinking that you're really, really hungry, but actually you're dehydrated. The signals are similar, and you make an assumption, but the assumption is not correct. So I think looking at the span of a day and identifying what the triggers are for stress, and actually being honest with yourself about what the triggers are for stress, can be, you know, highly illuminating. It says here, remove the barriers. We often fail to indulge in small pleasures, so figure out what's getting in the way and fix it. If it's time alone you need, make a date in your diary so you don't agree to socialise then. If you're a coffee connoisseur, get the best. It's worth spending a bit on sources of joy. You know what? I really think one of the barriers that a lot of people have is guilt, feeling like they don't deserve a gift for themselves. They don't deserve to have quality time for themselves. They tell themselves that it's silly, or that other people would judge them harshly, or that, you know, they really should be spending their time and energy and focus on somebody else or something else and not filling up their own cup. And that's one of the things that with my work, you know, surrounding self-love, I've definitely tried to help people to unhinge from their belief system. I think too many people in this world are trying to run on fumes, you know, their tanks are empty from giving everything to everybody, and they're trying to run literally on nothing. I feel like one of the barriers is guilt. I feel like not enough of us have seen our parents do nice things for themselves. Not enough of us come from a family where there is that dynamic of people doing nice things for themselves, checking in with themselves, making sure they've got what they need, making sure they have enough joy in their lives. So many of us are seeing people suppressing that urge within themselves, or feeling guilty for it, or shaming others for doing it. So I think it goes along in the line as well. You know, we do tell ourselves that we can't have these things. And I think there are also some really ugly messages which sustain the momentum of the capitalist culture, that also tell us that we can't look after ourselves and we can't check in with ourselves. Like the shame that people feel about taking time off from work, the shame that people feel about mental health issues and having to broach that with their employers or whatever. All of this keeps the system in place, you know. If we feel ashamed for putting ourselves first and checking in with what we really need, then the system thrives, you know. We carry on being good worker bees that never really consider ourselves and our own needs. There's a little mini sort of like advice page here about how to boost your memory. I've been reliably informed on many an occasion that I have a really good memory. A lot of people have been shocked at the things I've been able to remember about them, things that they've said. You know, this is in my personal life and also with clients as well over time, the stuff I can recall. Not that I never have to say, hey, can you remind me of that? Because I do, obviously, but a lot of the things I can recall are like sort of impressive to others, so I'm assuming that I have quite a good memory. I've been with a couple of partners that have been upset about their crappy memory, the things that they just can't like recall and the things they can't piece together from their past, and they've been like quite jealous of my memory recall, and we've definitely like together done some research while I was with them about how to boost your memory. It says here that you should stop relying on technology, which is an interesting thing. It says we're so reliant on digital devices, we let them remember for us. Practice relying on your memory and not technology. It says here, remember the unusual. Are you the sort who forgets a person's name repeatedly? In Instant Memory Training for Success by Chester Santos, Santos says it doesn't have to be this way. Use absurd visualizations. Alice might be a white rabbit, for example. So somebody called Alice, you might remember them as a white rabbit or something. I'm not quite sure how that would exactly work, but I'm sure it explains more in the book. Use your other senses. Don't forget taste, touch and hearing when you're trying to memorise things. There are some people here sharing how they feel more connected, alive and excited by life. You can see why I love this magazine, it's so adorable. Fresh air, it's a good one. Revise your usual daily route and change track. See the beauty in everything. Tune into your body clock, that's a really good one. Indulge in your passions. Unplug, that's one that a lot of us talk about a lot of the time now, isn't it? The importance of unplugging from the dreaded technological age. It does really affect your ability to concentrate and focus. I'm, you know, going through all of these different platforms and just almost short-circuiting has made it difficult for a lot of us to sit down and just read a book now or study. There's definitely downsides to this whole social media thing for sure. Ooh, this article plays with the idea of archetypes. It says, do you have a tyrant, a victim or a drama queen in your family? Many of us will recognise these characteristics in people we're close to and even in ourselves. It explains what each of these archetypes is like when personified in human form. What is a drama queen likely to say? You won't believe what's just happened. Why do people always pick on me? They hate me. Bad things always happen to me. What is a victim always likely to say? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, I always get it wrong, no one understands me. Oh, this is a really cool article about overthinking, which is something that definitely a lot of people struggle with. It says here, ensure that you limit your ruminations to just 15 minutes per day. This is actually something I've worked on with clients who are prone to overthinking or catastrophizing. I've said to them, if you're really doing it and you're going down that hole, you're going into that vortex, try looking at the clock and agreeing with yourself that you're going to let yourself do that for another 10 minutes and then you're going to stop and go and do something productive or change, you know, the way that you're thinking or what you're thinking about. It's almost like you're doing a little bit of weird reverse psychology on yourself because you're telling yourself that you're going to allow yourself to catastrophize, but only for a limited amount of time. Sometimes I think if we know that something's a real habit, a real itch that we just want to scratch, then the best thing to do is to let ourselves scratch for a little while. And then we can bargain with ourselves, we can make that compromise with ourselves, we can say, okay, that's enough of that now and let's move on. Obviously it's not as simple as that. You know, you hardwire it into yourself over years and years, things like overthinking and catastrophizing, so it takes a while to get out of. There's a dossier here about what charm is. Like, what does it mean to be a charming person? I'm glad that it talks about genuine charm in here because I'm afraid some people definitely are trying to work the charm and it's coming across a little different than I think they want it to or expect it to. Surround yourself with love. Friends old and new are the greatest tonic for the soul. You know what? I've realised that more and more. Over the last year, there's been so many experiences that have led me to recognise that a lot. It's difficult to explain, but friendship is coming back into my life over the last year in a really spiritually significant way, but I recognise for myself that that's only able to happen because I really do think of myself as my best friend and ally. And I really think that friends can only be a genuine and long-lasting tonic for the soul, and they can only really be, you know, they can only really be lights in your life for any length of time if you are a light in your own life. I think otherwise things start to get pretty hairy. And I think I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for joining me for another Vlogmas video. I hope this was interesting and certainly different to what I normally do. There's a little bit more of the magazine to go, so I think I might get myself a little bit more Ribena. Much love, blessed be.